We're joined now by Chief Executive from Labour Law Management Consulting, Ivan Israelstam. Ivan, thanks for coming in tonight. Much appreciated. There's a lot of noise, or there was a lot of noise made prior to the budget speech today. What were the main points that stood out for you today?
Well, the real main point is the contradictions. First of all, we're talking about growing the economy, and the budget to grow the economy, but at the same time we're talking about increasing taxes. I don't get it. Truly don't get it. We're talking about massive government spending on infrastructure projects, but we're talking about cutting government expenditure. Also, it doesn't make too much sense. How we are going to be expecting government servants to now accept pay cuts or no pay increases, that I also don't understand. So the thing that I really look at is the how of this particular plan.
From a consumer point of view, the average citizen in South Africa, would you describe what you heard today as a positive or a negative?
I'd say a negative in two ways. I mean, the average citizen doesn't want to hear about tax increases when the cost of living is so huge. And we don't like to have uncertainty, because the budget to me is a very uncertain one. The budget comment is an uncertain one.
We touched on it a second ago, this public sector wage bill. It's almost like a sword of Damocles in a way hanging over the head of the minister. How's he going to sort that out?
There is a way, but it requires a great deal of resolve and determination to say to the unions, you are not anymore going to get increases by threatening to strike. We can give you a much more positive way, and that is cut wastage, cut absenteeism, come to work on time, be more productive, give better service delivery, then you'll be able to create that revenue that we want to use to pay you more.
In theory, it sounds like the ideal situation, but it doesn't quite work like that in practice. How do we get around that?
The minister just has to take the decision. The way that it's been working now, with government servants holding government to ransom, hasn't worked. So any change from that has got to be better. There's got to be a major policy shift to say, no more are you going to hold us to ransom. We'll rather give you increases in a more constructive way. It's a win-win.
Considering that the state needs to tighten the belt, as we've discussed, what impact will the revised growth figures have on Labour, do you think?
Well, it's going to mean unemployment. So that will be bad for those who are already unemployed, because they'll have even less chance of getting employment. And those people who don't know it but are about to be retrenched are going to be in trouble. I'm not too sure whether organised labour is too concerned about that. They seem to be more concerned about getting the revenue from those people who are their members rather than creating employment. I hope I'm wrong, but it's how it looks.
I want to throw something else at you. In terms of the processes for entrepreneurship, it's something that the government has tried to encourage, and there are those who say that it's been very slow and it hasn't happened. Be that as it may, in your opinion, how much red tape is there involved with entrepreneurs trying to get a business going, just in terms of registering it?
The red tape is not that bad. It's only the slowness. There's not many steps.
Right.
But it can take a very long time to get registered.
The old 6 to 8 weeks standard line.
Yes. But that's not the biggest problem.
Okay.
The biggest problem for a new business is to be able to sustain itself. There's no small business that's been determined and hasn't been able to get registered. It's to be able to survive that is the problem. And the first thing that hits you is you need to employ people in order to make the business viable. But small businesses can't afford to employ people under the labour dispensation that we have. So what we need is a 10 or 15-year moratorium for small business on a lot of the labour laws that are strangling the opportunity for growth.
Is that the biggest problem, would you say?
I would say so. There are a lot of big problems, but I see that as the biggest one, because the new small business development ministry is talking about solving a lot of other problems, but not even mentioning that one.
Can we fast forward to February 2015 when we expect the minister to give his first full budget speech? Given what you heard today, what kind of things would you expect him to say come February?
We're increasing VAT by 1%. We're going to be taxing the rich even more. We're not going to be taxing the poor. Business tax won't go up. So yeah, I think we're looking at VAT maybe, but taxing the rich even more. That to me is going to be the main thing. He's going to repeat that we're going to be cutting state expenditure, but maybe we'll then explain how we do that while we actually spending a lot more money on governmental projects.
I'm going to ask you to define rich for me, because I know somebody's sitting at home right now and thinking, I do okay, but I wouldn't call myself rich. But what happens if the minister thinks I'm rich? What kind of threshold are we looking at there for people to start panicking?
If you're above the level of people who take to the streets,
Right.
you've got cause to worry.
All right. Say no more. All right. We'll leave it there. So much. Thank you so much, Ivan, for coming in tonight. Much appreciated.